Ambassador Kate Williams pressed her hand against the quantum glass of the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the blue-green planet growing larger in the distance. Earth looked deceptively peaceful from here. Nothing like the warnings that had brought the Galactic Council's most advanced ship, the Stellar Voyager, to this remote solar system. Ambassador, First Officer Derek Morgan's voice carried a note of tension she'd never heard before. The readings are getting stronger. Kate turned from the window, her silver diplomatic corps uniform catching the light from distant stars. The bridge crew, a collection of the most experienced officers from 17 different species, all stared at their monitors with expressions that ranged from confusion to pure terror. "Show me," she said, moving to the central display where complex energy patterns danced across the screen. What had started as a simple investigation into unusual radiation signatures had turned into something that defied their most advanced scientific understanding. The ship's chief scientist, Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, manipulated the holographic controls with her six-fingered hands. "It's like nothing we've ever seen. The planet's core. It's resonating with patterns that match the warning symbols we found in the ruins of the Centauri Empire." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. She had studied those ruins during her diplomatic training. An advanced civilization that had simply vanished overnight, leaving behind only a series of complex mathematical warnings about something they called the Deep Dreamer. "That's not all," Morgan added, his scaled skin reflecting the red emergency lights that had started pulsing throughout the bridge. "The warning buoys we detected around the system, they're not what we thought they were." Dr. Hayes brought up another display, this one showing the ancient network of satellites they had assumed were placed to contain a potentially dangerous primitive species. The new scans told a different story. "They're not pointing out," Kate realized, her voice barely a whisper. "They're pointing in." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. For centuries, the Galactic Council had assumed Earth was quarantined to protect the galaxy from humanity. Now, the truth was beginning to emerge. The quarantine was to protect the galaxy from whatever humanity was guarding. A new alert blared through the ship's systems. On the main screen, energy readings from Earth's core spiked in a pattern that made several junior officers cover their sensing organs in pain. "Analysis?" Kate demanded, fighting to keep her voice steady. Dr. Hayes's hands flew over the controls. "The pattern. It's not random. It's a language, or at least part of one. The same symbols keep repeating, but they're being answered." "Answered?" Morgan moved closer to the display. "By what?" "By them." Hayes pointed to new energy signatures emerging from Earth's major population centers. "The humans aren't just living on that planet. They're talking to something inside it." Kate watched as the energy patterns from Earth's cities formed complex interference patterns with the signals from the core. Where they met, the fabric of space itself seemed to ripple. "Send the first contact signal," she ordered, knowing this mission had just become something far more important than a simple investigation. But modified protocol. If what we're seeing is real. She didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone on the bridge had heard the stories, the legends of ancient beings that had once threatened the very foundation of reality. Beings that had been sealed away by powers that even the most advanced council species could barely comprehend. As the ship's communication array charged up, Kate noticed something else on the displays, a subtle shift in Earth's global communication networks. The humans knew they were here, and they were preparing for something. "Ambassador," Morgan's voice was tight with concern, "we're getting a response. But it's not from their official channels." The message that appeared on the main screen was simple, but it sent a wave of unease through the entire bridge crew. "You should not have come. The deep must stay sleeping." Dr. Marcus Reynolds adjusted his seemingly simple black tie as he watched the alien delegation's shuttle descend through Earth's atmosphere. Behind him, The Houston Space Center hummed with energy that no primitive civilization should have been able to harness. He checked his watch, an antique Rolex that was actually a quantum state monitor, and nodded to his assistant. "Lieutenant Foster," he said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of preparation, "begin the revelation protocol." Amanda Foster's fingers danced across what appeared to be a standard military laptop. In reality, the device contained processing power that could have calculated the movements of every particle in a solar system. Quantum shields disengaging in 3, 2, 1. The air around the Space Center shimmered like heat waves on a summer day. The carefully maintained illusion of a simple space research facility melted away, revealing the true face of humanity's first line of defense. Ancient symbols carved into impossible materials began to glow with inner light, and the very ground seemed to pulse with contained power. Through the facility's advanced sensors, Reynolds watched the alien shuttle's instruments light up with warnings. He could almost picture their confusion as their scans revealed technology that, by all rights, shouldn't exist in this section of the galaxy. Their primary sensor array just went dark, Foster reported, a hint of satisfaction in her voice, overloaded when they tried to analyze the quantum matrix. Reynolds straightened his tie one final time. "And our guest of honor. Ambassador Williams is already showing signs of understanding the patterns. Her neural activity suggests she's starting to pierce the veil." The shuttle landed with perfect precision on a pad that had been designed to handle ships 10 times its size. As the engine's whine died down, Reynolds noticed how the alien craft seemed almost primitive compared to what they'd been hiding all these years. The boarding ramp extended, and Ambassador Kate Williams emerged first, her silver uniform now looking oddly out of place among the revealed technology. Behind her, Dr. Elizabeth Hayes clutched a scanner that was probably screaming with data it was never designed to process. "Dr. Reynolds," Williams said, her voice steady despite the wonder and fear in her eyes. "I believe you have some explaining to do." Reynolds smiled, the kind of smile that carried both warmth and warning. "Ambassador, welcome to the real Earth. I apologize for the deception, but some things must be hidden to be preserved." A low rumble shook the ground, and several of the alien delegates reached for their safety harnesses. Reynolds held up a hand in reassurance. "Just a normal adjustment," he explained. "The entity below requires constant attention, and our systems work tirelessly to maintain the balance." Dr. Hayes stepped forward, her 6-fingered hands trembling, as she held out her scanner. "This technology, it's impossible. The energy signatures alone should have torn this planet apart ages ago." "Impossible is rather subjective, Doctor," Foster interjected, her military bearing at odds with the complex equations floating in the air around her. "We've had a long time to perfect our methods." Reynolds gestured toward the facility's main entrance, where the simple glass doors had been replaced by a portal that seemed to bend light itself. "Shall we? There's much to discuss, and time is always against us." As they walked, the ambassador's eyes darted from one marvel to another. Quantum computers that used human consciousness as processing power, energy systems that drew power from the very thing they worked to contain, and everywhere, the ancient symbols that matched those found in the ruins of dead civilizations. "How long?" Williams asked finally. "How long has Earth been this?" Reynolds paused before a massive display that showed the real-time status of Earth's containment systems. The numbers and symbols flowing across it would have driven most beings mad, but to him, they were as natural as breathing. "Ambassador," he said softly, "we were never what you thought we were. Every primitive satellite, every clumsy rocket launch, every seemingly wasteful war, it was all part of the plan. We're not just living on this planet. We're the only thing keeping it from becoming everyone's worst nightmare." The floor trembled again, and this time, Reynolds' smile faded. and I'm afraid we're running out of time to keep up the charade." General James Cooper's boots echoed against crystalline floors as he led the delegation through the Cheyenne Mountain complex. What once masqueraded as a simple military installation now revealed its true nature, a monitoring station for something far more ancient than human civilization. "Watch your step," Cooper warned, as they approached a chamber that seemed to swallow light itself. "The gravity gets a bit strange near the mapping room." Ambassador Williams noticed how her feet seemed to want to walk in different directions. Beside her, Dr. Hayes had given up on her scanner, which now displayed only swirling fractal patterns that shouldn't have been possible. "The original builders left this for us," Cooper explained, placing his palm against a surface that rippled like mercury but felt like stone, along with the knowledge of how to use it and the burden of what it means. The chamber burst into life. A three-dimensional map of Earth's interior materialized around them. But this was no simple geological survey. Streams of energy and information flowed through the planet's layers, like blood through veins, all converging on something at the core that the mind refused to properly process. "Every earthquake," Cooper continued, his voice taking on a professor's tone, "every volcanic eruption, every shift in the Earth's magnetic field, they're all part of the containment system. Nature itself has been reprogrammed to act as a prison." Dr. Hayes stepped forward, her scientific curiosity temporarily overcoming her fear. "These energy patterns, they're similar to what we found in the Centauri ruins." "Because they were running from the same thing we're guarding," Lieutenant Foster added from her position by the door. "But they chose to flee. Our ancestors chose to fight." Cooper gestured, and the map zoomed in on the planet's core. The alien delegation collectively stepped back as the image resolved into something that seemed to move in too many dimensions at once. "We call it the Deep Dreamer," Cooper said softly, "though that's just the closest our languages can come to its true name. It was ancient when the first fish crawled onto land, and it will be ancient when the last star burns out." Ambassador Williams found her voice. "And humanity, you were created to guard it." "Engineered," Reynolds corrected, entering the chamber with a stack of holographic reports. Every aspect of human evolution was guided. Our creativity, our adaptability, our constant drive to connect and communicate, all designed to make us the perfect wardens. The map shifted again, showing how human activities, everything from internet traffic to public transportation routes, created complex interference patterns that helped maintain the prison. "Our art," Cooper continued, "our music, our literature, they're all mathematical formulas disguised as culture. Even our social media networks are actually quantum field generators, using the combined mental energy of billions to strengthen the barriers." A low vibration ran through the chamber, and new patterns appeared on the map. Foster's hands flew across her controls. "Status report," Cooper demanded. "The entity's trying a new approach," Foster replied, her voice tense. "It's attempting to harmonize with human brainwave patterns, redirecting power to the cultural dampers." The aliens watched in fascination as what looked like random internet trends and viral videos suddenly shifted, creating counter-frequencies to the entity's attempts at communication. "This is why we had to appear primitive," Reynolds explained to the stunned ambassador. "If the galaxy knew what we really were, what we were guarding, the chaos would have given it the opening it needed," Cooper finished. "But now," he turned to face Williams directly, "your arrival has changed things. The entity is learning, adapting. Our old methods are starting to fail." As if to emphasize his point, the map flickered, showing momentary gaps in the containment pattern. In those brief instants, something moved in the darkness of Earth's core, something that shouldn't exist in any sane universe. "Ambassador," Cooper said, his voice heavy with the weight of millennia, "we need to know right now. Will the Galactic Council stand with us? Because if what we're seeing is correct, humanity's long vigil is about to face its greatest test. The chamber fell silent except for the steady pulse of Earth's containment systems, each beat a reminder of what lurked below, waiting for its chance to wake. Project Director Michael Harrison stared at the cascading alerts flooding his neural interface as the first containment barrier began to crack. The alien ship's quantum drives had created an unexpected resonance, like a tuning fork striking the perfect note to shatter glass. "Get those ships out of low orbit," he shouted across the transformed Times Square command center. What tourists had once seen as bright advertisements now revealed their true purpose. Each billboard a complex reality anchor, each flashing light a warning system. Lieutenant Foster's voice crackled through the global defense network. "Too late. The resonance is self-sustaining. It's like the entity was waiting for this exact frequency." Around the world, skyscrapers began to shift, their seemingly decorative architecture revealing complex machinery hidden in plain sight. The Empire State Building's spire split open like a blooming flower, releasing a beam of energy that connected with similar structures across the globe. "Status of the neural net?" Harrison demanded, his fingers dancing through holographic displays that only he could see. Dr. Reynolds' voice joined the channel. "The internet is transforming as planned. 6 billion human minds are being synchronized to reinforce the barriers. But, sir, the entity is responding differently this time." Harrison felt it before the alerts confirmed it. A shift in the very foundation of reality. The entity was using the alien ship's resonance like a battering ram, testing each layer of its prison with methodical precision. "Ambassador Williams," he called through the command channel, "I need every piece of data you have on your ship's drive signatures. Now." The ambassador's response was immediate, but her voice carried an edge of horror. "Director Harrison, the drives. They're based on technology found in the Centauri ruins." The room fell silent despite the blaring alarms. Even the entity seemed to pause, as if savoring the moment of recognition. "It led us here," Dr. Hayes whispered through the channel. "All those ruins, all those warning signs, they were a trail of breadcrumbs." Harrison's mind raced through the implications. Centuries of human evolution, of careful preparation and containment, threatened because they had never considered that the entity could play such a long game. "New York Command, this is Orbital Defense," a fresh voice cut through the chaos. "We're tracking multiple anomalies breaking through the upper atmosphere. The entity's influence, it's changing the ship's drive systems." Through the transformed windows of the command center, Harrison watched as the sky above Manhattan began to ripple like heat waves over desert sand. The alien ships, once sleek and powerful, were twisting into shapes that hurt the eyes to look at. "Initiate the deadlight protocol," Harrison ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision. "Lieutenant Foster, sound the global alert. Dr. Reynolds, begin the mass consciousness upload. General Cooper, your forces are now authorized to reveal all secondary systems." As if responding to his commands, Times Square transformed further. The ground split open, revealing arrays of crystal and metal that had been hidden since the city's foundation. Tourists and locals alike stood motionless as their neural implants, disguised as everything from smartphones to fashion accessories, activated at full power. "Sir," Foster's voice had gone cold. "The first barrier has failed. We're registering. Sir, we're registering thoughts from the core. It's starting to dream." Harrison closed his eyes for a moment, remembering all the simulations, all the training for this moment. When he opened them, the sky had turned the color of static. "Then we give it nightmares," he said, activating his full neural link to the global defense grid. "This is Director Harrison to all points. The masquerade is over. Show them what humanity was really built for." Above the city, reality began to tear like wet paper, and through the gaps, something ancient started to wake. Captain Emily Parker stood at the edge of the Pacific breach zone, her standard-issue combat suit now fully transformed into its true form. Crystalline arrays sprouted from the shoulders and spine, each one pulsing in sync with the global defense network. Behind her, the civilian population of Los Angeles moved with perfect coordination, their years of emergency drills revealing themselves as combat training for this exact moment. Neural sync at 98%, she reported through the worldwide command channel. First wave of psychic shielding is online. From his position in New York, Director Harrison's voice carried through the network. The entity's first attack will be mental. Remember your training. Everything from school memory games to social media sharing was designed to strengthen your mental defenses. As if on cue, the ocean before them began to boil. Not with heat, but with something far more fundamental. Reality itself was starting to break down. The entity's first probe reached out from the breach, a tendril of thought that made the air scream. Consciousness web activating. Dr. Reynolds announced from Houston. Everyone, link up, just like we practiced in all those online gaming sessions. Parker felt it immediately. Millions of minds connecting through what the world had thought was just the internet. Every tweet, every status update, every shared photo had been training for this, creating neural pathways that now lit up like stars. The entity's probe struck their combined consciousness like a hammer against glass, but the glass held. Decades of cat videos and meme sharing had created a cultural shield strong enough to resist even this ancient horror's first attack. It's testing the pattern, Ambassador Williams observed from her position in the command center. I've never seen anything like this. Your people. They're moving like a single organism. Not single, Parker corrected, her voice strained as she helped channel the combined mental energy of the West Coast. United. There's a difference. We keep our individuality. That's what makes the pattern strong. Around her, the transformed city responded to the entity's pressure. Buildings that had posed as simple offices now revealed crystalline cores that pulsed with counter-frequencies. The Hollywood sign, long disguised as a tourist attraction, split apart to reveal a massive energy cannon. Second probe incoming, Lieutenant Foster warned through the network. This one's different. It's using our own broadcast patterns against us. Parker felt it. The entity had learned from its first attack. Now it was using humanity's own communication methods, trying to turn their mental network into a weapon against them. But humanity had prepared for this too. Initiate the symphony, she ordered. Across the city, hidden speakers began to play what seemed like random music. But each song, each beat had been carefully crafted over generations to create interference patterns in the entity's consciousness. It's working, Dr. Hayes reported, her alien technology now fully integrated with Earth's defense systems. The musical defense, it's actually working. The entity can't maintain its grip on your communication networks. Parker allowed herself a grim smile. We didn't spend centuries creating pop music just for entertainment, Doctor. Every top 40 hit is a mathematical formula designed to reinforce reality. The entity reeled back from the musical assault, but Parker could feel it gathering itself for something bigger. The ocean had turned the color of television static, and the sky above was beginning to crack like old paint. All units, Director Harrison's voice cut through the chaos. Prepare for full manifestation. The entity is done testing. It's coming through. Parker watched as reality began to peel away, revealing something that had been waiting since before the first human ancestors walked the earth. But humanity had been waiting too, and they were ready. Remember, she broadcast to her teams as the thing from below finally began to rise. Every movie about fighting monsters, every story about facing the impossible. It wasn't just entertainment. It was training. Now show them what humanity was built for. The entity rose from the Pacific, like a mountain made of nightmares, but the combined consciousness of humanity rose to meet it, armed with weapons 10,000 years in the making. Defense Coordinator Thomas Walker led the emergency council through the crystalline corridors of the Pentagon's inner sanctum. The building's true nature had finally been revealed. Each 5 walls, actually ancient binding runes, the central courtyard a massive containment circle that now glowed with eldritch energy. The entity has adapted faster than any of our models predicted, Walker explained, his voice echoing against walls that seemed to absorb shadow rather than cast it. Which brings us to the contingency vault. Ambassador Williams and Dr. Hayes followed close behind, their expressions growing more concerned with each level they descended. The air grew thicker with power, and reality itself seemed to flex around them. These are humanity's last resort protocols, Walker said as they approached a door made of something that looked like liquid night. Each one worse than the last, but each one guaranteed to stop the entity. At a price. The vault opened at his touch, revealing a chamber filled with holographic displays and crystal matrices that hummed with barely contained power. Lieutenant Foster was already there, her hands dancing through projections of possible futures. "Show them," Walker ordered softly. Foster nodded and activated the first display. Option 1. Project Sunward. We convert Earth's core into a prison of pure energy, using the planet itself as a containment vessel. Casualty rate, 100% of surface life, but the entity remains trapped. The next display flickered to life, showing a massive network of ancient machines hidden beneath Earth's crust. Option 2. The Great Migration. We upload every human consciousness into the defense grid and transform the entire planet into a quantum computer focused solely on containment. Humanity survives, but only as digital echoes. Walker watched the aliens' reactions carefully as Foster continued through the list. Each plan was more desperate than the last, launching the Earth into the sun, triggering a dimensional collapse that would seal off their entire reality, converting the moon into a massive reality anchor. "These are all suicide options," Ambassador Williams whispered, horror evident in her voice. "No," Walker corrected. "These are victory options, because the alternative is letting that thing escape. And if it does," he gestured to the final display, which showed the entity's rate of adaptation. "It won't just be the same horror that the ancients faced. It will be worse." Dr. Hayes stepped forward, her scientific curiosity momentarily overcoming her fear. "Because of human innovation, our technology. Because of everything," Foster explained, bringing up new data streams. "Every book we've written, every song we've sung, every dream we've shared, the entity has been absorbing it all. Learning, growing, understanding. If it breaks free now, it won't just be a cosmic horror. It'll be a cosmic horror that understands human creativity, human determination, human hope." The chamber shuddered as another attack from the entity struck the planet's defenses. Somewhere above, millions of minds worked in concert to hold back the darkness. "Your people suggest evacuation," Walker said to the ambassador. "But that's not an option. We can't run. Not just because of duty, but because running would mean giving it access to everything we've built, everything we've learned, everything we are." He turned to a final display, one that showed the current battle raging across the planet. "Every generation of humanity has added to our defenses, found new ways to strengthen the bars of this prison. We've turned our very nature, our need to connect, to share, to create, into weapons against the dark. We can't give that power to the enemy." Ambassador Williams stared at the options before them, each one representing the end of everything she had known about Earth and its people. How do you make a choice like this?" Walker's expression was grim but determined. "We already made it, Ambassador. The day our ancestors accepted this duty, they knew what it might cost. Every child born, every life lived, every memory shared, all of it was building toward either victory or sacrifice. There is no middle ground. The floor trembled again, and this time the lights flickered, something that shouldn't have been possible in a facility powered by technology beyond human understanding. "Sir," Foster's voice was tight with urgency. "The entity, it's learned something new. The containment pattern is shifting in ways we've never seen before." Walker met the ambassador's eyes. "Now you understand why we had to hide, why we had to seem primitive, and why we need your answer now. Will the Council stand with us as we make this choice, or will you force us to make it alone?" Senior Containment Specialist Rebecca Mitchell stood in the United Nations building's true form, its walls now transparent crystal that showed the battle raging across multiple planes of reality. The General Assembly Hall had transformed into a global command center, each seat now a neural interfaced pod connected to the worldwide defense grid. "First physical breach detected in the Indian Ocean," she announced, her voice carrying through the global network. "The entity is attempting to manifest fully." Around her, the world's social media networks transformed into their true purpose. Every tweet became a combat command, every shared photo a reality anchor, every status update a weapon against the incomprehensible. Drawing power from the cultural web, Director Harrison's voice echoed through the command center. "All units, initialize the Lullaby Protocol." Across the globe, children's songs began playing through hidden speakers. What seemed like simple nursery rhymes were actually complex mathematical formulas designed to stabilize reality. Mary Had a Little Lamb created quantum interference patterns, while Ring Around the Rosie generated fields that strengthened the walls between dimensions. "The entity is adapting," Dr. Hayes reported from her station, her alien technology now fully integrated with Earth's systems. "It's using the resonance from our own defenses." Mitchell watched as the thing from below finally breached the surface. It rose from the Indian Ocean like a mountain made of forgotten colors and impossible angles, each movement sending ripples through the fabric of reality itself. "All personnel, full neural sync," she ordered, activating her own direct link to the global grid. "Show them what we've been practicing for." Humanity responded as one. Every mind on Earth, whether they knew their true purpose or not, connected through networks hidden in plain sight. Video game guilds revealed themselves as combat units, social media influencers as reality anchors, and internet moderators as frontline psychic defenders. "The entity is attempting to access the internet," Lieutenant Foster's warning cut through the network. "It's trying to use our own communication systems against us." "Let it try," Mitchell responded, a grim smile on her face. "Initiate the honeypot protocol." Across the globe, decades of cat videos and meme collections sprang to life. What seemed like random entertainment was actually a carefully crafted maze of cognitive traps and psychological barriers. The entity found itself tangled in billions of human thoughts, each one a thread in a web designed to ensnare it. "It's working," Ambassador Williams observed from her position in the command center. "Your people, they're not just fighting it, they're channeling it." Mitchell nodded as she directed another wave of cultural defenses. Every conspiracy theory, every urban legend, every creepypasta, they were all training exercises, teaching humanity how to process the unprocessable. The entity lashed out, sending waves of impossible knowledge crashing against human minds. But where the ancients had fled from such revelations, humanity had spent generations learning to surf the waves of the incomprehensible. "Containment fields at maximum," Dr. Reynolds called out. "The cultural defense grid is holding." Through the crystal walls, Mitchell watched as reality rippled and bent. The entity towered above the ocean, its form a constant shift between shapes that shouldn't exist. But humanity's response was equally impressive. Every major city now revealed its true form, buildings transforming into crystal spires that pulsed with contained power. Neural load approaching critical levels, Foster warned. Human minds weren't meant to channel this much power. Human minds were engineered for exactly this, Mitchell corrected, her voice steady despite the strain. Every dream, every nightmare, every story we've ever told. It was all preparation for this moment. The entity's roar shook the foundations of reality, but the combined consciousness of humanity roared back. Pop songs became battle hymns, social media trends became war cries, and the collected knowledge of the internet transformed into a weapon against the ancient horror. Hold the line, Mitchell commanded as the entity launched its most desperate attack yet. Show them why the ancients chose us. Show them why humanity was the perfect choice to guard this prison. Above the Indian Ocean, reality itself began to tear. But humanity had been preparing for this moment for 10,000 years, and they were ready to show the galaxy why they were never just another civilization. They were the wardens of the impossible. Chief Science Officer David Anderson stood before the Galactic Council's emergency session, his simple blue suit now transformed to reveal its true nature, a containment officer's battle armor, still bearing scars from the recent conflict. The council chamber, usually a place of measured debate, sat in stunned silence as he presented the final report. The entity has been contained, he began, his voice carrying the weight of victory and loss. But more importantly, you now understand why Earth had to appear primitive, why every warning buoy, every quarantine marker, was never about protecting the galaxy from us. The holographic displays around him showed the aftermath. Cities across Earth slowly shifting back to their disguised forms, the neural network carefully powering down, and the entity once again secured behind strengthened barriers. Ambassador Williams stepped forward, her diplomatic uniform still bearing traces of reality distortion. The Council has reviewed the data from the battle. What your people did, it defies everything we thought we knew about consciousness and reality. Anderson nodded, bringing up new displays. Every aspect of human society was designed for this purpose. Our art, mathematical formula that strengthened dimensional barriers, our music, frequencies that stabilize reality, our constant need to share, to connect, to create, all part of the defense grid. But the deception, one council member started, was necessary, Anderson cut in. Imagine if the galaxy knew the truth, that Earth's core contained something that could unravel reality itself, that humanity wasn't just another species, but living weapons designed to guard an impossible prison. The displays shifted to show the true nature of human achievement. The internet revealed as a vast neural defense network, social media as combat training, and popular culture as a complex system of reality anchors. We had to appear chaotic, he continued. Our wars, our conflicts, our seemingly wasteful experiments, all of it carefully designed to hide our true purpose. Because the entity watches, always. It learns, and if it ever saw us coming. The frequency match with our ships, Dr. Hayes interjected. It was waiting for that, wasn't it? Anderson's expression grew grim. For thousands of years, every piece of technology you found in those ancient ruins, breadcrumbs, it wanted you to develop those specific drive signatures, to bring them here, to create the perfect resonance. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. The implications were staggering. An entity so patient it could plan across millennia, so powerful it required an entire species to contain it. But you prevailed, Ambassador Williams noted. Even when it used the resonance, even when it tried to turn your own culture against you. Because that culture was our armor all along, Anderson said with a hint of pride. Every story about monsters, training for the real thing. Every tale of humanity facing impossible odds. Preparation for this moment. We didn't just guard the prison. We became the perfect wardens through every book written, every song sung, every dream shared. He gestured, and the final display showed Earth from orbit, its cities now glowing with their true power. The Council has a choice now. You can help us maintain this vigil, understanding that Earth must appear primitive, must seem chaotic and divided. Or, there is no, or, Williams interrupted, looking around at her fellow council members. We all saw what happened when we interfered. The entity nearly escaped, and if it had, she shuddered. The warnings remain, but now they'll serve their true purpose, not to quarantine Earth, but to protect its sacred duty. Anderson watched as understanding dawned on the Council's faces. Humanity's apparent primitive nature, their seeming inability to join the galactic community. It had never been about protection. It had been about dedication to a purpose greater than advancement. We are not your equals, he said finally. We're not your primitives either. We are the wardens of reality itself, chosen by powers ancient beyond memory, engineered to stand guard against the darkness between dimensions. And now you know why every warning about Earth points to one truth. Something worse lurks below, and we are its perfect jailers. As the council session ended, new protocols were already being written. Earth would remain isolated. Its people would continue their chaotic dance of creation and connection, and the galaxy would remember. Some civilizations don't need protection. They are the protection.